Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Kathy, Susie, Nancy, Sue, Beatrice, and the whole team of the Global Wellness Summit to invite us to present our insights here. It's been a fabulous conference, and I hope I can share some insights that are going to be useful to you as a team. So we're really going to speak about a generation of consumers that are so important in the world today. Just a quick introduction about us so that you know where we're coming from and the context of this study. So we are a data insights and strategy company, very focused on emerging affluent consumers and affluent consumers across the globe. I'll skip that. Just in terms of work, we do a lot of work with brands that obviously embrace wellness and health, whether it's insurance companies, whether it's people who are into yoga, whether it's hotels, whether it's hospitality and travel. But we also look at the consumer across many different categories, which I think helps us when we look at insights. Obviously, beauty, anti-aging, cosmetics, private banks, all of those. We share quite a lot of our thought leadership since we generate a lot of data. We do partner with people like the New York Times, the FT Summit, and now, the Global Wellness Summit, which is an honor to be here. So quickly just diving into why this consumer is so important today. In sheer numbers, we're talking about these numbers, which are like huge. So you're talking about 500 million of these young generation consumers coming out of China. And they are obviously roaming all around the world. So whether it's travel, whether it's just going to, any business that is relevant today has to be mindful of this generation. Just in terms of opportunity, you've already seen a lot of those numbers, but just in terms of health clubs, gyms, the growth of athleisure, the growth of marathons, just the number of them that now happen in China. 100 million users on apps that actually look at wellness. I mean, these are all sheer numbers that are going to increase over time. So when we talk about wellness in China, it's interpreted in many ways. And when we did this study for the Global Wellness Summit, we actually explained to them that we were going beyond nutrition, we were going beyond exercise, health, we were looking at mental wellness, we were looking at spiritual wellness, all of those things. And here is the study done in August and September this year. You are looking at some of the first results. We actually divided our sample by the post-80s and the post-90s consumer. You'll be surprised how different they are. Both called millennials, everybody tends to club them together, but they really are very different, and we're going to look at that now. The study was done in 14 cities in China, which we do quite a lot of work with. But I have to say that more recently, our studies are being done across 80 cities in China. So the sheer depth of cities and brands that have been there, looking at consumers now, even at Tier 3 and Tier 4. But obviously here, we're looking at some of the main cities. I think this is probably the most interesting slide that I enjoy talking about. How do these people describe themselves? So you'll see the purple bits are what the post-80s and post-90s both agree with. And then you have the blues, which the older millennials think of themselves. And then the greens, which are the youngsters. So confident, optimistic, free spenders. They call themselves the Moon Clan generation, which pretty much means that they empty out their wallet every month. Remember that a lot of them are single kids. They have 2 sets of grandparents, they have homes, education paid for, and they really can spend. They look at themselves as phone addicts. They do think that they are that. But the really interesting part of them being on their phone is not only to play games, they also access information from all around the world. They are some of the most curious consumers, and you'll be surprised that even though a lot of American news channels and media are not legally there, they use their VPN to really look at worldwide news. Extremely informed and curious. The other thing that they look at themselves as is low key, and we'll explain this a little better as I go along. Buddha-like, low key, we'll talk about this. The millennials look at themselves as individualistic. They talk about themselves being opinionated, free, sometimes even selfish. The younger ones that we've been looking at more closely, the 17 to 24, also look at themselves as being trendsetters. They like new things. They don't agree with every brand that's out there. They buy as they wish. They set their own fashion. So let's look a little bit at the actual data and what these people thought about themselves. 56% feel very optimistic for the next 5 years of their life. So there's obviously optimism. 45% are willing to spend more, to eat well, to dress well, to live in a good environment. And I think that's going to become pretty critical as we go along today's study in terms of the data. They're individualistic, yes, compared with the elders. Many of them say that they're much more willing to express themselves very openly. I like to pursue individuality and quality of life, one of them tells us when we are speaking with them. However, they do feel pressured. The myth about these people that, they're grown up, they're spoiled, they're pampered, they have nothing to worry about is really not real. Often they talk about the fact that they have obligations to their family, expectations that people have of them. They really do feel that pressure, and they feel like, we live in the time of both opportunities, but also pressures. Now let's look at this, which is probably, very critical to what we've been talking about in this conference. Living a healthy life is a key priority for these people. This actually comes above finding love, achieving financial success, finding a good job, having a family. So this is already an audience that has accepted how important health and wellness is for them. They feel healthier compared to the earlier generations. 63% of our sample of millennials and Gen Z feel that I'm healthier. They also realize that they are the ones who place more importance on wellness, much more than their parents ever did. So obviously, this is a young generation that puts wellness, health, quality of life at the center of things that they do. Why is wellness important for this generation? We ask them, what is it about wellness that is really so important for you? It improves my quality of life. I have more energy, makes me happy, helps me to succeed in life. I look better, I can live longer. It's the right thing to do. Now, if you look on the other end, my parents taught me its importance is not very high. So it's obviously something that this generation has discovered even more and is actually thinking that it's really vital for them because it improves their quality of life. Women are more conscious about wellness. Women are now a big driving factor all over the world, I'd say. But in China, definitely. It's the only place in the world when I'm in Shanghai seated with 4 men and the waiter comes to me with the bill. Because that's what China is all about. It's a she economy, it's where women kind of are pretty powerful and they're driving a lot of trends. And we see that women are more conscious about wellness. One-third of our sample thought that they were very healthy across different dimensions: spiritual wellness, nutrition, physical wellness, mental wellness. I obviously don't have all numbers put up here, but there are lots of numbers around, people who didn't think they were so into wellness, and you can come back to us for that. Women, again, rate themselves higher than men on spiritual wellness, on nutrition, on social wellness. The majority of them devote 3 to 9 hours per week on just wellness-related activities, and we look at some of those. So you do have people who, spend more than 10 hours on wellness, some less. They tend to do a lot of activities alone. So you have 43% of these youngsters, doing a lot of these activities alone. But you do have people who pair up with friends and family as well. In terms of physical fitness, and I think, the gym guys are all here, but gym is their main workout location when it comes to physical fitness. And then you see home, the park, public playgrounds, also the workplace, which is now obviously being important, are all part of locations that they go to for wellness. In terms of activities around physical fitness, and you've seen how the likes of, in the same research, when we ask them, what brands do they associate with themselves most? Nike and Adidas come up. But guess what? So do Dior and Chanel. So this is definitely a generation where luxury has come very easy to them. So, they have the money, they spend on the brands. Obviously, we, as a strategy company, do a lot of work with premium brands, and we kind of correlate all this data and see that Nike and Adidas, Chanel and Dior, all in the same conversation. But then if you look at the activities that they're doing, whether it's running, jogging, walking, yoga, you get an idea of activities that they're taking to. And obviously, athleisure is one of those booming categories just based on some of these activities that they're doing. How do they keep themselves, how are they up on trends about wellness? This is, again, very important to people just around here. Health-focused apps. I mean, we know they live their life a lot on the phone. They're on WeChat moments all the time. A lot of their life is led by apps. And apps like Gudong, for example, are really very popular with them for health. They look at the news, so they get things from the media, from news, of course, from friends and family, blogs, and then social media KOLs. I mean, anyone who's doing business in China knows the power, or wants to do business, of the key opinion leaders. So you always have these people that they look up to, and I'm not presenting it here, but I have names of all the musicians, the rappers, the dancers, the celebrities that these people look up to, and it's very important for any brand to kind of partner with them to let that message out in China. In terms of their diet, a fair number feel that they're quite healthy. There are some who feel that they could be more healthy. And in terms of diets that they follow, there's a wide range of diets that they're into, so very much part of what the world is doing, low or no carbs, high protein, no sugar, some of the vegans in there as well. And then there's, of course, a healthy lot who eat what they like. So it's obviously, for them, diet is not so, they aren't focused on it that much. I think this is really critical. I mean, we've touched on mental wellness in this conference, and I think now, given the fact that even in Asia, it's become such a big topic, not a taboo anymore, and people are just getting more aware of it, and looking at ways that they can keep themselves not only physically healthy, but mentally healthy as well. And what are some of the things that our young lot in China are doing? They're reading books. Some of them are doing some form of meditation and prayer. So, there is a strong spiritual belief in them. A lot of our young generation tell us that luxury is not materialistic anymore. So again, another myth that all young, affluent Chinese, all they want to do is buy luxury brands. And as we go more deeper with this category and learn to know more about them, especially the young ones, the Gen Z lot, for them, luxury is more than materialistic. They're looking at things in a different way. They're, trying to find their own way in life and not just buy things that money can buy. We thought this was really interesting. We had a headline which said, not Gen Z, but Gen Zen. Because again, the Gen Zen, the 17 to 24-year-olds, they made it a point to say that, I respond to life's pressures in a Buddha-like way. So when we talk to them, we resist engaging too openly online. We don't want to show our passions too openly. We keep a calm. Now, this is a bit different to when we talk to the millennials, who are kind of much more open with their opinions. And then you can see that the younger lot, which is why even for the brands, we make it a point to tell them that don't club them as a whole. You've got to look at the post-80s, the post-90s as a different segment, because there are differences that they come with. Barriers, we saw them even before in the GWC data that they presented, the GWS data yesterday. Lack of time, it's something that we all have to work around. So, that is the main barrier from living a healthy life. A lack of interest, not all of them are so interested. Lack of facilities near me. Now, this will probably get more and more as we go into the lower tier cities. You can already see that there is a difference between tier 1 and tier 2, where they're talking of not many facilities near me for fitness. There's lack of encouragement, lack of knowledge, lack of money, a very small amount. These people are fairly... It's amazing when we've done research and we ask them, how did you buy a product that costs $3,000 sometimes? And they say, I bought it with my money, and they're 17 years old. So it's obviously pocket money that they get from their parents that they use. So lack of money, not so much, but definitely a lack of time, a lack of interest. I think again, there's a lot of travel and hospitality brands here. And some of the work that we do with hotels, with tourism boards, more and more is really about designing, about understanding some of what these consumers want so that they can design their wellness offerings accordingly. So 91% say that the type of wellness options that are available when they travel is of key interest to them. They also say it's important that they continue their health regimen, their practices when they travel. 49% of our, the 1,000 people that we interviewed often check the health and wellness facilities that are available at the hotel before booking. So it's getting important for hotels, and very recently we've been working with a luxury hotel brand, a big group, that is really looking to upgrade into the luxury space. So they've been, mass luxury, but they haven't been right on top. And obviously, some bits of the data do point towards how big wellness, spas, places to meditate are becoming for hotels. 50% of them are very satisfied with the health and wellness facilities that the hotels they provide stay in. This is quite interesting. Again, there are people here from all around the globe. We obviously look at different cities, that not only the Gen Z and millennials, but generally everybody is traveling into, because for our clients, whether it's American travelers, Japanese travelers, they're all important. In terms of this young lot, they're looking to travel to Australia, to France, to Korea, to Canada, to Japan, to Austria. One thing that it's important to notice is, I've been presenting at the travel and luxury market for the last 4 years. And one thing that I've seen is that destinations are changing very quickly. So we've seen the Maldives come up, we've seen Africa, we've seen Morocco, we've seen Turkey, we've seen Iceland. But really, one thing to know about the Chinese are that they're traveling far and wide, and it's very quickly, especially for these young consumers, because they've studied in the US, they've studied in UK, they're very comfortable with the language, and they're really out to discover the world. If you look at the millennials, Japan. Now, we know that Japan and Korea have been big spots for the Chinese. We've done interviews for cosmetics and perfumes where the youngsters have told us we go down to Japan for the weekend to replenish our makeup, right? So we're talking about, these sort of consumers, and Japan has been big not only for them, but for affluent Asians just at the moment, with the run-up to the Olympics and the rugby that's just happened. But you can look at the US is very much on the list. If we looked at a larger list, you'd see Thailand up there, another hot destination. And then you'd look at a lot of new ones that are coming up. So therefore, it's really important. And a lot of studies we're doing now is around the global millennial traveler. Because most brands that are sitting in the US or London or anywhere else, they see this lot not just for China, but just how as a brand can they embrace these people all around the world and cater to them. So really I'm coming, towards kind of the end of this study. There's a lot more data, there's a lot more around hotels, brands that they love, but I think it's important to just leave you with a few key takeaways that you can take back with you. So obviously optimistic, very optimistic. In fact, if you speak to young people in Shanghai, very much like New York in the old days, you ask them, what do you love about Shanghai? Do you like Shanghai? And they always say, what's not to love about Shanghai, right? So we've seen the China, with China pride, a lot of young people going out to study, but coming back very optimistic. Living a healthy life is a key priority already. So it's not something you need to sell to them. They already believe that health and wellness is really very important. Women, more than men, as you saw, are obviously key kind of target for wellness and health brands. And then there are people who are already, as young people, moving into things like meditation and prayer, which maybe came later to us from another generation. So again, we do a lot of quarterly reports on China, all around the world, and even the Gen Z report is something that we update our clients quarterly, and you can subscribe to some of these. So you can always contact us if there's any need. Our global coverage is obviously all around the world. At the moment, we're just doing some research in the US, but Asia is kind of our focus. So I'll end with that, and I think I've got a couple of minutes. So if you have any questions, any pressing questions, but on the other hand, I know we're running late as well. So I'm happy to meet you outside for a coffee if there's anything important. Yeah?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
The statistics said there was 15% vegetarian and 13% vegan.
Yeah.
28%, is that addition? So 28% of Chinese are vegetarian? I can't
So 13% of them have like a veggie diet, and the other lot have a gluten. So it's that much percent of our young sample, which doesn't mean everybody in China.
You
It
had
just
vegan
means
and vegetarian. Are they separate?
as separate.
Wow, so that's a huge sector.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, and I don't know, another small thing that I notice when I'm in China is, people eat a lot of green salad for breakfast now. So pretty much every breakfast buffet in China has a green salad, and avocados run out faster than, they are kind of big on demand. So those are the kind of, trends that are now really big in China. Any other questions? Okay, great. Thanks.